All right, get ready because today we're going deep on something incredible, Imagine a chatbot, but not just any chatbot. Imagine one that doesn't just get what you're saying, but actually talks back. And get this, with the emotion, the speed, even the accent you choose.
It really is fascinating.
No more robot voices.
Exactly. This new tech GLM-4-Voice, it's a total game changer. We're moving past those systems where speech recognition and all that, those were all separate things.
Yeah, so
this is something completely different.
It's like, I don't know, sending a telegram to actually sitting down with someone face to face.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And we've got a whole bunch of stuff to go through today. We've got the actual research paper itself, a study guide too.
Nice.
Always fun.
Yeah.
With quiz questions even.
Always up for a challenge.
And then some briefing docs and FAQs. So ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, so no more of those awkward pauses or robotic voices. But how does this GLM-4 voice thing actually work? Because it seems almost too good to be true.
Well, the research paper really dives into the limitations of those traditional chatbots, that old pipeline way of doing things.
Right.
With the separate systems for ASR and LLMs and TTS, it's it's like a relay race.
Okay.
Where the baton gets dropped every time they pass it off.
So errors every step of the way.
Exactly.
That's why they sound so choppy and weird.
Right. But GLM-4 voice, this is end-to-end.
So what does end-to-end even mean?
Well, it means it processes speech directly. No middleman, no more problems.
I see.
It's kind of like our brains, right? We hear someone talking and we just respond. We don't sit there and transcribe it all in our heads first.
Right.
It's just more natural, human-like.
Makes sense. So how does this work, technically?
Well, a big part of it is this speech tokenization. That's how GLM-4 voice makes speech something a computer can understand.
Okay, break that down a bit. Tokens, what are those exactly?
So think of them like building blocks of language, little digital Legos.
Okay, I can picture that.
The cool thing about GLM-4 voice is it uses what they call supervised training for its tokenizer, which basically means it learns from human transcriptions.
So it's not just randomly chopping up the audio.
No. It's learning all the nuances of human speech.
Wow.
And it does all this at an insanely low byte rate, 175 bits per second with a 12.5 hertz frame rate.
That's super low.
Right. And that's key for both efficiency and equality. Some methods, they have to pick one or the other.
Gotcha.
GLM-4 voice seems to have figured out how to do both.
It's it's like taking a huge audio file and shrinking it down to almost nothing.
Right.
But somehow keeping all the meaning?
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
It really is.
But how does the model then turn all those tiny pieces back into something we can hear?
Well, that's where the decoder comes in. It takes those tokens and turns them back into, sounds we can hear.
So is this decoder just one big machine? Or are there different parts?
It's actually 3 parts working together.
Interesting.
You've got the speech token encoder. That one figures out what the tokens mean. Then there's the flow matching model that generates the actual smooth, natural sounding speech.
So it's getting closer to an actual voice at that point.
Right. And then finally, you have the hi-fi Jan vocoder.
Okay.
This is what adds that last bit of polish to make it really high fidelity audio.
I see. So it's like a production line.
Yeah, you could say that.
Each step is making the sound better and better.
Exactly. Until it's basically indistinguishable from a human voice.
That's crazy. And the briefing doc mentions they train the decoder in 2 stages.
Yeah, first it's on general speech data and then on high quality samples.
So taking a student who knows all the grammar rules, but then actually throwing them into real conversations.
That's a great analogy.
That's where they learn how to really communicate. But none of this would even be possible without tons and tons of data, right?
Right.
I keep seeing this trillion tokens thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, my brain can barely even process that.
It's a huge amount of data, 1 trillion tokens used to train this model. And it's not just any data either. They use this mix of what they call interleaved speech text data, which is basically synthesized from text, like books and articles.
So it's bridging that gap between written and spoken language.
Exactly. It's like teaching the model to read and listen at the same time.
That's wild.
And then, get this, they also used 700,000 hours of unsupervised speech data.
Wait, 700,000? How is that even possible?
That's where it learns the rhythm and flow of, actual conversations, all those little things that make us sound human.
So it's listening nonstop for 80 years?
Something like that, yeah. No wonder this thing can hold a conversation.
Seriously. But how do they actually teach it to, think and talk like a person?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. They use this streaming thoughts template.
Okay.
During training, it switches back and forth between making text tokens and speech tokens. It's almost like the model is thinking in text but talking in speech.
At the same time.
Yeah. And they use a very specific ratio.
Okay.
1 text token for every 2 speech tokens. This makes sure that the thoughts, in text form
Right.
are always a step ahead, guiding the spoken stuff.
So it's like an inner monologue
Yeah, kind of.
happening in the background, shaping what it says out loud.
Yeah.
Clever. But even with all that training, does it actually work?
The research paper has a whole section on the testing.
Yeah.
And the results are pretty amazing. They did a bunch of tests like speech language modeling, which basically means, can it predict what comes next?
Okay.
Like, can it finish your sentence?
So it's not just repeating stuff it's heard before, it's actually understanding.
Exactly. And then they did spoken question answering using all these data sets.
Like what?
Web questions, llama questions, trivia QA, all kinds of stuff. Basically, can it answer your questions?
Based on what it's hearing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like a voice-powered Google search, but way better.
That would be pretty sweet. Were there any, weaknesses? Things it struggled with?
What's interesting is it did well with both speech-to-speech and the speech-to-text,
Okay.
but the text output was generally better, more accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still room for improvement with that direct speech-to-speech stuff.
Makes sense.
Oh, and they also tested it as a chatbot,
Yeah.
really focusing on how good the responses were, and if it could remember things.
So how do you even judge how good a chatbot's response is?
Well, they used another AI for that, GPT-4.
Wait, they used AI to judge another AI. That's kind of meta.
It is, right. But it shows how far we've come.
Yeah, true.
The AI can now understand and judge these complex human-like things. Anyway, they scored the responses on a scale from 1 to 10,
Okay.
looking at helpfulness, accuracy, even creativity, and GLM-4-Voice did way better than other models.
Wow, really?
Oh, and they also checked the quality of the actual speech it made using something called UTMOS.
Okay.
Basically, how natural does it sound to us?
Then
Again, really high scores. So yeah, it actually does sound very natural and pleasant. And finally, they made sure the text and the speech matched up. Using Whisper to transcribe the generated speech and compare it to the original, just to be sure GLM-4-Voice was actually saying what it was supposed to be saying.
Wow. Okay, so they really put it through its paces.
They did.
And it sounds like it passed with flying colors.
For sure.
My brain needs a minute to process all this.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
It's incredible how far this technology has come.
It really is. Makes you wonder where we go from here.
Okay, I think I'm caught up. But man,
Yeah.
my mind is still reeling from all that GLM-4 Voice stuff.
Yeah.
It's amazing how this is pushing the limits of what we thought AI could even do.
It really is remarkable. And it makes you think, where do we go from here? What does it actually mean for the real world? A system that can, make human quality speech like this with all the nuance and personality and everything.
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
We talked about voice assistants before. Imagine if Siri or Alexa actually sounded like a friend you were talking to.
Right.
Someone who gets your tone, your intent, all that.
It would totally change how we interact with technology. No more robot voices, no more misunderstandings. It would be natural and flowing,
Yeah.
like talking to a real companion.
And not just for personal assistance either, right?
Yeah.
Think about customer service.
Oh, yeah.
How many times have you been stuck on hold forever?
Too many.
Or trying to explain something complicated to a bot that just doesn't get it?
Worse.
With GLM-4 Voice, those interactions could be so much better.
Yeah.
Imagine a customer service bot that can actually understand when you're frustrated
Right.
and then change its tone to match yours
That would be amazing.
and then actually help you fix the problem.
Quickly and efficiently.
Sign me up for that.
Me too.
But it goes even beyond just convenience. The FAQ doc we have actually highlights how this could impact accessibility,
Oh, interesting.
which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, for sure. For people with speech impairments, imagine a system that could learn their voice
Right.
and then translate it into clear, understandable speech.
Wow.
Or for people who have trouble typing, a voice-powered interface that's just as good as GLM-4 Voice. That would be a game changer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It could open up so many possibilities for communication and self-expression.
Yeah.
And think about education too.
Oh, yeah.
Language learning apps where you could practice with a virtual tutor. who sounds like a native speaker and like adjusts to your level.
That would be awesome.
Or interactive textbooks that read to you in a voice that's actually engaging.
Yeah.
Not boring.
Right. The possibilities are endless.
And let's not forget about entertainment.
Well, of course.
Video games, virtual reality, all that.
Right.
Imagine characters that are so realistic,
Yeah.
it actually feels like you're talking to another person.
The entertainment industry would be revolutionized.
And then there's the whole AI companion thing. Like, imagine an AI that doesn't just sound like you, but it learns your preferences, your habits, even your sense of humor.
Wow.
It could be a true companion,
Yeah.
offering support, entertainment, even just connection.
We're getting into some sci-fi territory here.
I know, right?
But it feels closer than ever before.
And the crazy thing is, this GLM-4-Voice isn't some top secret project.
Right.
The developers made it open source.
Wow.
Anyone can access the code, experiment with it.
That's huge. It could really speed up the development of all those applications we just talked about.
And probably a ton more we haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah. It's like opening a door to a whole new world.
It really is. But, with any powerful technology, there are going to be some challenges and maybe even some risks.
You're absolutely right. I mean, the benefits are huge, but we can't ignore the potential downsides. We have to be careful here.
Yeah, for sure.
Think about the ethical implications and work to reduce those risks before it gets too widespread.
Okay, so let's talk about those downsides.
Yeah.
What are some things that worry you about this technology?
Well, one of the big ones is misuse, especially when it comes to deepfakes.
Right.
We've already seen how convincing those fake videos and audio recordings can be.
Yeah.
With something like GLM-4-Voice, it would be even easier to make fake recordings of anyone saying anything.
That's scary.
Right. Like, imagine someone making a fake recording of a politician saying something inflammatory.
Oh, man.
Or using a made-up confession to frame someone. It could completely destroy trust in what we see and hear.
And what about the legal side of things?
Oh, yeah, that's a huge issue. How do you prove a recording is real when anyone can make a perfect fake? It would be a nightmare for the courts.
And it's not just about people being malicious, right? What about privacy?
Right.
If someone can make a copy of your voice, what's to stop them from using it to, like, get into your accounts or buy stuff with your money?
Exactly. Identity theft would take on a whole new meaning. And then there's the whole thing about blurring the lines between what's real and what's not. What happens when we can't tell the difference anymore?
It's a lot to think about.
It is. But we need to be having these conversations now before this tech gets so advanced that we lose control.
Absolutely. So what can we do? Like, what can developers, researchers, even policymakers do to, like, minimize those risks?
Well, transparency is a big one. Developers need to be upfront about what this technology can and can't do. Users need to know if they're talking to a synthetic voice, not a real person.
Right, like informed consent, basically.
Yeah. And then we need to educate people.
About deepfakes and all that.
Exactly. So they can be more critical of what they see and hear. And then on the technical side, researchers are already working on tools to detect synthetic media.
Oh, cool.
And watermarking is another promising approach, like adding a digital signature to verify if something's real or not.
I see. So like a way to tell if it's been tampered with.
Right. But it's an arms race, As detection gets better, so does the tech for making deepfakes.
Sounds like it's going to be tough to stay ahead.
It will be. But we can't give up. We have to keep pushing for responsible innovation. Figure out how to use this tech for good while minimizing the harm.
Agreed. And that brings me back to something you said earlier about GLM-4-Voice being open source. I mean, it's awesome because it means more people can access it and innovate.
Yeah.
But doesn't that also make it easier for bad actors to misuse it?
It's a tough one, a double-edged sword for sure. But I think the benefits outweigh the risks. By making it open, we're also giving more people the power to develop those safeguards.
So it's like fighting fire with fire.
Yeah, in a way. The more people working on the problem, the better our chances of finding solutions.
This has been a wild ride. I've learned so much. But I'm also, like, cautiously optimistic. We're entering a whole new era of how humans and machines interact.
For sure.
It's both exciting and a little terrifying.
I think that's the perfect way to put it. We have to use this tech responsibly. Make sure it serves us, not the other way around.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm feeling a mix of, like, excitement and apprehension.
Yeah, I get it. This tech has the power to make our lives so much better.
Right.
But it also comes with some serious risks. It's up to all of us to make sure we're navigating this new landscape carefully and ethically.
Okay, so we've talked about all the amazing stuff GLM-4-Voice can do.
Yeah.
But also, like, some of the ethical issues, right?
Yeah, a lot to think about.
So where do we even go from here? How do we balance this incredible technology with the need to be, responsible?
That's the big question. And I don't think there's an easy answer. But I think the first thing is just acknowledging that it can be misused. We can't just pretend everything's going to be fine.
Right. We need to be proactive. What are some actual things developers, researchers, even policymakers can do to, make sure things don't go off the rails?
Well, one thing is transparency. Developers need to be upfront about what this tech can do and what it can't.
Right.
Users should know that they might be interacting with, a synthetic voice, not a real person.
That makes sense. We need to teach people about deep fakes and all that.
Exactly. So they can be more careful about the information they see and hear.
Right.
And then on the technical side, there's already research happening on tools to detect synthetic media.
Really?
Yeah. And watermarking is another interesting idea. Basically adding a digital signature to verify if something is real.
So you can tell if it's been messed with.
Right. Exactly. But it's kind of an arms race,
Yeah.
As the tools to spot fakes get better, so do the tools for making them.
So it's going to be hard to stay ahead of the game.
Yeah, it will be. But we can't just give up. We need to keep finding ways to use this tech for good,
For sure.
while minimizing the bad stuff.
And that makes me think about something you said earlier about GLM-4-Voice being open source, which is great because it means anyone can use it and innovate.
Right.
But doesn't that also mean it's easier for, people with bad intentions to get their hands on it?
It's definitely a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But I do think the good outweighs the bad.
Yeah.
By making it open, more people can work on those safeguards we were talking about.
So it's what's that saying? Fighting fire with fire.
Yeah, kind of. More people working on the problem means we're more likely to find solutions.
This has been a crazy deep dive.
Yeah, it has.
I feel like my head is about to explode.
Oh, yeah, right.
But it's been so interesting. I've learned so much. I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
We're entering this whole new world of humans and machines interacting.
We are.
It's exciting, but also kind of scary.
I think that sums it up perfectly.
Yeah.
It's on us to use this technology the right way. Make sure it's helping humanity, not, the other way around.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Mm-hmm.
This whole thing with GLM-4-Voice, it's not just about the tech, It's about the choices we make, the ethics, and ultimately the kind of future we want to build.
Well said. And to everyone listening, keep thinking about this stuff. How would you use this technology? What safeguards would you put in place? What kind of future do you want to see? Because the future of AI, it's not set in stone. It's something we're all creating together.
So true. This has been The Deep Dive, and like always, we want to leave you with something to think about. So here it is. Imagine you can make a chatbot that sounded exactly like you. How would you use it? What are the good things that could happen? What are the, potential problems? And maybe the biggest question of all, what does it even mean to be human when the lines between real and fake are getting blurrier and blurrier? Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.